Welcome to South Carolina in the 1960s. Let's start with a little overview of the time period. In 1960, the Civil War was in full effect, which destroyed South Carolina's economy. Continued dependence on agriculture made South Carolina the second poorest state for the next century. Education levels were low as public schools were underfunded, especially for African Americans. Most people lived on small farms and grew cotton. Fashion during this time period for women consisted of colorful dresses with short hair and high heels, as men wore formal clothing such as suits with ties and fancy dress shoes. Here are some important people in the 1960s. Alice Childress, the first woman to win an OBIE award. Moran Wright Eldman, the first African-American female admitted to the Mississippi Bar. Leon Ellison, a world wrestling champion longer than any other wrestler in history, man or woman. Bobby Mercer named the MVP of the 1960s World Series, and he still holds numerous World Series records.
So why did the South leave the Union? The reason why the South wanted to leave the Union was because South Carolina had erected a monument at Gettysburg that supposedly claimed what the Civil War was about. However, this monument did not honor the African American men that took up arms to fight in this war for freedom. Explaining the text on the South Carolina monument at Gettysburg. The text that was on the Civil War monument talks about the men who fought for their freedom and how by them fighting for freedom will carry on through their family. To Lowen, the text on the monument was a woo to the American people in the 1960s and the years following. South Carolina's grievances against the Union according to Lowen. To Lowen, South Carolina's grievances against the Union were how the 14 states purposely denied their constitutional obligation, which was under Article 4 in the Constitution. It states no person held to service or labor in one state. Black Like Me, John Howard Griffin, Wounded Party or Wounding Party perspectives. Throughout John's book, you can see both perspectives of the wounded and the wounding party. One example that can be perceived as the wounding party is on page 15 when his friend states, "If they ever catch you, they'd be sure to make an example of you." This means that if John is caught in the act about what he is doing, then the African American Party will most likely kill him. One example of him hearing of the wounded party is when he hears the doctor state, they were apparently friends 1 minute and then something would come up and one would get slashed up with a knife. By hearing her say this means that by him transitioning into trying to be an African American, he can get into some pretty serious trouble. In 1965, I think white South Carolinians would create a monument to protect and extend slavery. Are there similar perspectives in Black Like Me? I think the white South Carolinians wanted to create a monument continuing slavery or slave owning because they believed that white people had the upper hand in privilege and power. Throughout the book, there are some similarities because throughout it, you could see how people would treat him differently just because of his appearance. How does narration, voice, and tone help readers identify perspectives in nonfiction texts like Black Like Me? Narration can help because it gives a sense to the reader on who is reading. Voice and tone can help the readers get an impression on what the narrator or the person speaking feels about a certain topic. One example of him using narration is him himself throughout the book because he is talking about his experiences. Throughout the book, readers can get a sense of him using an informational type of tone due to him always stating facts about the different medication that he uses and the different treatment he undergoes.
What you looking like that at me for?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I meant no harm.
Gets faster every day. Give them an inch and they take miles.
Don't you know better, man, than to show them manners? They's for comfortable standing.
5 minutes, stop. Hey, boy, where you going? Hey, you, boy, I'm talking to you. Where do you think you're going?
Restroom.
What stop you getting off at?
Burlington.
And you get back in your seat and don't you move till we get there.
History tells a compelling story, a story of great triumph and one of great heartbreak. History is also told from our ancestors, passed down through many different people. So I definitely think history has a positive and negative effect on our cultural identity. Culture is a big part of history. It tells us who we are as a country, who we are as people.
History definitely plays a part on my knowledge of my culture. I know I come from Africa, but where in Africa do I come from? I don't know what types of food I would have eaten. I don't know what my living conditions would have been. I don't even know what type of language I would have spoken or my tribal events, such as weddings. How are those actually done, or just traditions? And so I feel that I am at a loss, or maybe a feeling of being inadequate in some way, because I don't know who I am and what my culture would have been.